podcast. Its purpose is to provide thought-provoking dialogue with a slanted perspective. Here we encourage influential conversations. Give us a listen, like and share. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Welcome to CEO and the Doctor.
Yes, sir. See on the Doctor back again. What you doing this week, P? How you doing, man?
Oh man, I'm good. It's been a pretty relaxing week. Had a couple of impromptu consultation jobs, and I actually had a Zoom call from some headhunter today for some job in Phoenix. So I mean, I'm not going to turn down opportunities to see what's out there. So it's for some project management thing for something called distributed antenna systems. Basically, they're setting up like web type internet Wi-Fi systems for different companies. They just want a project manager and they want to pay between 120 130. So all right, let's see where it goes.
Is short term or like how long does this last?
It didn't have an expiration date on it, so I just talked to the head on it today. They can afford my stuff.
Huh? Oh no, man! You know you don't like work. Come on, bro.
No, I don't. But all right, so short-term plans. I want a home in Italy, and I want to pay for it. I don't want to have to mortgage shit. I just want to drop the money on it and own it outright. So, I mean, this will give me that opportunity if I do it for a year, maybe two.
Well, shit. God damn. My man wants a home in another country that he just want to own. All right, man. So here's the key. I'm gonna just give you some keys to success.
Yeah, talk to me.
You got to see it through. You can't be on the bus ride.
Right. Yeah, no doubt.
Like, wait a minute.
Doubt.
This ain't for me. I don't want this. That's what you did with the last gig. He was on a bus ride in Alabama somewhere. He was like, guess what?
No, I can't do that.
After months of getting the job, securing the fucking bag, P was like, nah, that shit ain't for me.
4 days in. So
Texas
the moral of the story.
Is
put yourself in a place where you can choose what you want to do. That's the moral of the story. And that's what we all should be aspiring to do. You're setting yourself up for that. So, I look forward to where you're going to be at post-retirement, sub 2-year level. You got 2 years, under 2 years now. Till you can join us on the other side and you can have gummies. I haven't had any gummies, but I'm just saying.
I'm trying to make it there, but I have to shout. I had a long conversation today with one of my supervisors is here. You know him, Burger.
Right. Yeah.
He not trying to let me go, man. So he really trying to push me for senior. He's looking at my paperwork, my packages. He's like, yeah, man,
right.
I'm sorry, but I can't do nothing but try. I was like, look, leave me alone, man. I'm trying to get the fuck out. It's time for me to grow up and get my next life. So we'll see, man. But I'm planning on getting out. That's my goal, but we'll see.
Yeah, for me, I would never ever judge anybody for staying in for their own reasons. But I will always reiterate the fact that it ends. It ends.
Yes.
And at some point you really need to start, people that do it really have to start preparing themselves for what's next. And the sad part is our exit isn't as robust as our entry.
Yeah.
They throw the world at you when you come in. I'm telling you, man, when I hit that button, and you could talk to Gandhi and anybody else that retired, it was like clip, umbilical cord cut, get out. We got somebody else behind you, get out. It's like, whoa. They don't prepare you for nothing to get out. There's no preparation for what's next. And this world is coming at you.
They are changing that. They're doing it now, which is key things that I'm trying to take advantage of, like the career skills bridge and all that. Right. But that's for another talk, man. We here to talk.
We'll have a career day thing, but So what's
All right.
been going on with you this week besides we need
Short
you to
week.
stay in?
Short
Short
week.
week?
Uh,
Yeah.
came off a pretty productive trip home, dealing with some property stuff, so I was good there.
Okay.
Needed that little break.
Yeah.
And it's a short week, so I only work Tuesday to Thursday. Tomorrow's my last day, and we got a 4-day. So
Cool. Cool.
really, just more mental preparation as far as just relaxing. Wrote a little bit Monday, so that got
Good.
me rejuvenated to write some more. So
Yeah.
yeah, man. I was watching a movie real quick before we jump into Flash. It's
Mhm.
called Finding Forrester, and I've seen this
Oh my
movie
God, I love that movie.
bunch of
Yeah.
times, but you always, I guess you always kind of realize something different each time you
Yeah.
watch.
Mhm.
So there's a part when Sean Connery was like, you just write. The first draft, you write with your heart. The second draft, you write with your mind. That really resonated with me. And I was like, damn.
Yeah.
So that's what I found myself doing Monday. I just let it go. And I was pretty effective.
Wow.
Wrote a whole chapter,
Wow.
let it go. Now
And
again, I'm gonna
I'm
write with my
glad you
mind the second
mentioned that.
time, but yeah, it
Yeah.
was just I just let it go, and it's so much easier just to be. But
Yeah.
don't worry about the words, don't worry about sentence
Man.
structure. Just write with your heart. So
Because my
yeah,
mind, I hit these walls
yep,
because I'm
all
thinking
the
too
time,
much,
absolutely,
and I've been like slamming into a wall lately. I get a page here, page there, but it's been like, I'm thinking too much into it. I'm
yeah,
looking at these pages over and over, and I'm editing, and I shouldn't be doing any of that. It's just be brain dumping,
right,
emotion dumping, and
yep,
I'm not. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
yeah, man. So without further ado, we didn't talk a little bit. Let's jump right into the Flash, man.
Man,
All right, so let's start with the cop, man. Let's talk about the
well,
cop that broke down. Tell
yeah.
me,
So during Juneteenth, man, in Flint, Michigan, they were having a 3-day festival to celebrate Juneteenth, as I was saying. Cop was out directing traffic,
yep,
and this young lady pulls up next to him, and she shoots at him. Dude,
black
she just
cop,
shot
right?
at the man. Yeah, yeah.
Black cop, yep.
And he defended himself and he shot her. And immediately, dude dropped down to his knees and he started crying, man. And other cops and people that were in that area, came to check on him and obviously, the person that he shot. But it's not so much. I wanted to talk about this not so much from the situation itself, the optics of it, but it's we've seen so many stories of police brutality, but we've never seen anything about how what they do can potentially affect them. And this
Yeah.
affected this man immediately. This girl was 19 years old. She had her whole life in front of her.
So this is kind of one of those situations that I think that depending on who you talk to, you could feel
Yeah,
one way or you could feel the other. And
right.
I always say, like, if you are a cop or you put yourself in that situation where you want to be a cop, you have
Yeah,
to know how to control situations. And in
yeah,
this situation, I mean, maybe the cop will get, talked about for not acting fast enough, but this man did all he could to not
yeah,
shoot her, to the extent of, I want to say, allowing her, but she actually got a shot off at him, and
yeah,
then he had to shoot her.
yeah.
So, you think
She
about
hit.
how the situation goes. Like, is that restraint? Is that discipline? Is it ignorance? To potentially take a shot, maybe your
Yeah,
life is ended. It could be a lot of you could throw at him, but
yeah,
ultimately, at the end of the day, we've seen a whole bunch of emotion here. Now, again, I don't know how he processed this thing, but this wasn't just a regular day at the office. Hey, suspect down and requesting emergency, units, whatever. He was very
yeah.
emotional that he had to go there. He warned her.
Immediately.
He told her, stop, stop, stop. She popped off a shot. He popped off a shot. Her life's over. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of things that we could talk about. Now, again, we don't want to bring color into this or not, but this is a black cop on the flip side.
yeah,
A lot of times we don't hear about stories like this, or we don't even hear about, I remember the one black cop that shot a kid in Indy. The thing that was most memorable about that is that they caught him laughing. You know what I'm saying? Like when he was telling a story, I remember that was like
yeah,
last summer.
yeah,
And I was like, fuck, I mean, that's kind of a bad light to be in, right? There's nothing, no joking matter about having to take a life. But
yeah.
in this
Especially a
situation,
child's
this
life.
didn't get
Yeah,
highly, publicized, So again, I don't know. I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna keep it light on that. But like I always say, man, if that's your job, you got to prepare for the worst, and that's the worst.
definitely.
and
Yeah.
he didn't use his weapon first in that situation. So take that however you want
It's
to take that.
sad. It's just a sad situation all around. And
It is.
again, it's. I would
Free
say this is one of these situations where the cop is actually doing his job and he's doing it right. The outcome was not
ideal.
great at all. It
Yep.
wasn't ideal. Um, we've had far too many stories on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Too much for us.
Too much.
Uh,
Right.
but we don't want this show's not. We don't want to have it just slanted in one direction. That's why we want to talk about things like this. So, um, sad situation all around. I feel for him. I feel for his family. I feel for, the young lady's family, her loved one. So, we send out our condolences to them and best wishes to the cop. And I hope he's able to process this long term and get better from it. So, that being
Real quick
said,
before we
yeah,
move
go
to Allison,
ahead.
we gotta definitely give, and this is not a positive shout. This is a shout out for being pieces of shit. But the dickheads on the weekend of Juneteenth too in New York that
Yeah,
basically tore
defaced
down,
George. Yeah,
defaced
man,
George
come
Floyd's
on.
statue just because they wanted to be pieces of shit. So
You got that's straight cowardice. That's
yeah,
cowardice.
that shit
I,
was stupid. Very stupid. But we can leave that there. I just wanted to peg that too. So
yeah,
let's talk about Allison Felix and what happened with her.
man,
So basically, yeah, go ahead. Lead off with
she
that.
lost. She lost a contract with Nike. Nike just dropped her because she got pregnant.
Right?
All
Of
right, and I mean, obviously, they didn't. Hey, you're pregnant. Publicize it. Hey, you're pregnant. We're dropping you.
course.
Uh,
That would cause other
hey,
kind of problems.
she took it on herself to. She got a contract with Gap with the Gap, and the Gap has their own athletic brand, and she just started her own shoe company. You know, Alison Phoenix is an Olympic star.
Fifth
Wow,
Olympics.
these
Yeah, her
shoes
fifth
are fly.
Olympics. Yeah,
Yeah,
so that's what's really dope about this is that she's
right.
definitely embracing everything that's her
Yeah,
accomplishments, her own style and brand with the shoe, and
mm,
she's even rocking because she had a C-section. She's not
yes,
even rocking the C-section scar as a symbol of, I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of, being a mom, and this is how I represent that. So Black Girl Magic, we know that that's a whole movement and it's
indeed,
real. I
indeed, it's real.
my daughter, my wife, my sister, my mother, everybody that believes in themselves and believes in what Black women stand for. Like this is a very powerful moment, and it's not really to take a jab at Nike, like they said,
No,
F
no,
off, but it's more so like you can do great things if you set your mind to it. And
yeah,
that's it. Like to make her fifth
absolutely.
Olympics, let's just think about that.
Yeah,
Like Olympics only come around every 4 years.
yeah,
So that's 20 years of being, dominant, prominent, whatever you want to use in the sport for one. So that's a check.
yeah,
Then she's like, well, I'm not branded by Nike no more. I'll take my own brand to the Olympics. That's only going to explode her.
mm,
And boom, look, I'm not ashamed of
cool.
having a C-section. So look, the world can see because you know how they
Yeah,
run in their little track outfit and whatnot. So
yeah,
I
and
commend her. Keep doing great things. This is a role
we,
model too.
yeah, for
It's
sure, for sure.
all the
And
Cardi B
and
shit. I'm not knocking them,
no, I'm
but
not knocking
this
them.
type of
This
shit is
is
role model. Yeah,
you
to me.
want your daughter to. You want daughters to emulate this.
Yeah. Now you ain't
This is
gotta
that
whop
path
it
that
and all
you
that
want to
other
follow.
shit. You don't need
Especially,
the macaroni in the pot, whop it. But we can do
we live
something
in
more
this
positive.
this crazy world where women aren't supposed to do and say and have their own. Nah, things are changing. Things are
Right.
changing. There's going to be some resistance to it, but hey, ladies, keep pushing, keep doing you.
And lastly, this came in hot off the wire. Bill Cosby's going home. Apparently, it
Man,
was as
came
soon
in
as
like a
today.
meteor.
Yeah,
Yes,
they said that
today.
he didn't get a free trial,
Hmm.
or sorry, not a free trial.
He
My
didn't get
bad,
a fair trial.
fair
Yeah,
trial.
he
And
wasn't protected from self-incrimination.
true. And so yeah, they said, you know what, we're overturning this immediately, and free Cosby it is. So there's a lot of stuff that goes
Yeah.
along with this, right? Like,
Mhm.
and we got to do better, man. Like, I haven't been past, jokes at time, Pill Cosby this and Pill Cosby that.
Yeah.
Moral of the story is we didn't know everything, right?
Right.
And we also got to bring into the fact like statute of limitations. Like how does that truly play in certain things? Maybe it
Yeah.
does,
Yeah.
maybe it doesn't. But in this situation, look at see, Will,
Will
I'm just trying to come off of this, and here you go talk about freedom. This boy's an
for
idiot.
the pudding pops.
But no, what I'm trying to say is,
For the
you
pudding
know,
pops.
perhaps maybe like
Yeah.
what you immediately grasp from situations is not always appropriate or the right mindset. And we seen Oprah went on her whole thing. She went off on Bill. She did the thing about Michael Jackson, the whole thing. So I say
Yeah.
all that to say, like now this man is going home free. He's not going to be looked at by
The same.
everybody as
No.
oh, he should still be. He's basically gonna be like he should still be in jail. A lot of people gonna say that, right?
Yeah.
Regardless,
Yeah.
because it's almost like once you're kind of marked to something, regardless of whether it's you're guilty or not, you're that.
Right.
Kind of how
Yeah.
fucked up it goes.
That's it's what's become perception.
Yeah,
And it's if it's a perception, it becomes your reality, and this is going to be his reality. I don't know how
it
at
is.
83 years old he's going to recover from it.
It's a different
I
story.
doubt
Will. I don't
that.
know if R.
I
Kelly
doubt
is
that,
serious.
Will.
That's,
I
that's,
doubt
that's a different
But
one.
that's been the question, though. And that was one of the first things that says, like, well, R. Kelly's got to be like, yo, what's up? What about me? But all right,
Right.
to be serious, this is the first thing that came to mind when this happened. All right, I thought about this, and yes, the law says you have to be protected from self-incrimination. Okay, not disputing that. Self-incrimination allows you it for it to happen. You have to admit to something without being protected from admitting to something.
Yeah, I
That
mean
being said, that
that.
being said, then we
Right,
go
right.
back,
You the
back, back,
lawyer.
back
You the
to
lawyer.
OJ. We go back
Ooh,
to OJ. This
ooh.
is to me where the disparity in the American justice system becomes glaring. Okay, I remember the OJ trial. I don't know if you do. After that trial was over, all of Black America celebrated.
Yeah, and a lot of things happened. And it's crazy, and nothing is right
Yeah,
by this
right.
mindset. But it's even
Yeah,
in the documentary. It's
yeah,
like Black America
yeah.
needed that after Rodney King, after
And,
everything else. They was
and
like, we
here's
need,
why.
yeah,
Here's why that happens.
kind of
It
fucked up, but
happens because not it has nothing to do with guilt or innocence. It has absolutely nothing to do with it. It has
okay,
everything to do with seeing the system work the same way it does for white people.
that's facts. That's facts. That's facts. And we're not here to break down
Yeah.
that trial, but in
No,
all
not at all.
actuality,
Not at
some
all.
gaffes happened, i.e.,
Yeah.
trying to make him put the glove on the whole thing. We know his hands
Yeah.
swole; it couldn't fit. Moral of the story is regardless, and even I mean, and this might look fucked up, but Black people,
Yeah.
like you said, they celebrated probably knowing that shit was shaky. I don't know. I'm not gonna comment there,
Yeah.
but I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say like they wanted to win,
Yeah.
and
It's not
unfortunately,
it's not about whether Cosby did all this stuff. I'm not judging. I'm not saying he did. I'm not saying he didn't. That's not my point. My point is until our legal system is one where it's equality across the board, these little wins, these little wins,
I hate him,
whether
bro.
innocent or guilty, innocence and guilt won't matter because we're going to hang on these little victories because
Yeah,
the system is broken. The system's not fair. That's
I
why that's the celebration. And now you search on social media, you'll see both sides. People celebrating, people, send him back to jail. He's a rapist, blah, blah, blah. We're not here to talk about that. I'm just highlighting the fact that this is one of the problems with the legal system. And that's why, hey, OJ, he got off, he got off. Cosby's free. He got off, he got off. Whether they did it or not, that's for, at this point, God to decide.
Now here's the other law student comes in. Epstein had plenty of victims come forward, and he magically died before justice was served. Well,
Epstein had the black book. That's
yeah,
why he died.
yeah. So I
Yeah,
mean, there's a lot to say in that too. And then we're talking about in the
yeah,
Cosby case, we talking about shit that was 30, 40 years old. So that's why I said where
right.
the statute of limitations
Yeah,
come in as well.
yeah, exactly.
So it's a lot. I mean, this man at that point, Bill is 80 plus, somewhat senile, don't have a good memory, the whole nine, and he's up there, just being taken apart. And we can say, well, if he is truly a monster, then he's a monster. But I mean, why now? Not
Yes.
saying
Yeah.
that anytime's
Yeah.
perfect, but why now? And you're defaming his character and everything else. And it's kind of like the man can't even mentally defend himself because
Yeah.
he's not even all there. So it was just a wild situation. But like Sis said, yeah, Epstein, he had all this against him, and then boom, he's hung. And yeah, I don't know about that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we'll see how
He
that goes.
Epstein knows where the bodies are buried, and they didn't
Yeah.
want that shit to come out.
That's facts, man. Cosby has to sit there. Well, yeah, she's
Very true. I
yeah,
saw something about that too. He
yeah,
was trying to buy NBC.
that's facts.
You're not going to get a
Big
major
facts.
network with a brown face. You already see what Byron Allen. Anybody that's listening, in regards to this same, in the context of this conversation with Bill Cosby and NBC, look up anything you want about Byron Allen buying,
I'm
having
sure
his own TV
there were
station.
still
He's trying to
people.
get different shows and ads on.
Sheesh. Okay, well, this ain't even the show.
Yeah,
Whether you,
we
we,
haven't even
we
gotten to
got
the
the
meat of the
comments.
subject.
Y'all firing
Yeah,
off. So yeah, man. So all we're gonna say here is Cosby's free Cosby,
yeah.
and we'll see what happens after this new trial, the whole thing, whatever. We'll see. I don't know.
And I just read too. This state Supreme Court said he cannot be tried again, so he's free.
Oh well, that's it. It's
Yeah,
over with.
he's free. It's over.
Yeah. All right, man. Well,
So
moving on. I guess we'll jump in. Let's go news. That got kind of heavy, so we'll just plow right into there. take take some of that heat off a little bit.
so we going to McDonald's or we going to Tinder?
Nah, we got to go Tinder first, man.
All
So
right, that's right. That's
hold
right.
on,
Right.
hold on. There we go. News.
Yes.
Start with the Tinder lawsuit. So, so the story goes here. Let me see. I had it pulled up. Basically, basically a date that
Yes.
started off in the right direction for our guy turned sour very quickly based on his own self. So what are we talking about? So a Tinder date is trying to sue a woman for not having sex with him. Now, let's first throw that out there. Tinder is supposedly a dating social site, but it's kind of known as being a place to hook up, right?
Come on, with a name like Tinder,
Yeah.
kind of ominous.
So, buddy, basically, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read what's going on. So, Emily McKinnon
Yeah.
described her date on the platform where she said he was a law student and he assumed she was going to have sex with him because they went back to his place. However, this is where it changes. She noted that it was not happening because she discovered the poor hygiene as they were kissing and undressing. When I tell you it was a sight, it was a fucking sight. There were trails. There was a vague bad smell. I had to get the F out of there, evacuate, abort mission. I was upwind and still smelled something. There was like skid marks in his undies, and he had not washed in a long time.
Yeah.
So that's a lot to say.
Yeah.
But
Man.
Buddy was nasty.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Shit stained Charlie, as you call him. And now he's upset, pride hurt that he didn't score, and he's going to sue her. What is the lawsuit actually going to even look like? How can that be a lawsuit? How can that be a lawsuit? You still got to have consent no matter what. So if the lady says, no, I'm not here for that, then it's over. Like what can you sue? She led me on. We went back to but even still, there's nothing to sue there. So to me, it's just hilarious that, he
had her served with papers. He had her served with papers.
Yeah. That's fucking crazy.
Which is so stupid. Now, she also mentions in the midst of all these conversations that they had, he was talking about how his dad's a lawyer, blah, blah, blah. So when she got served with papers, she went to go see his dad. And she told his dad.
That's crazy, bro.
And that ended everything quick. That ended it all real quick. So
I got to keep up with these comments, man. So let me see here. What Will say? Will say he's suing because he didn't get them yams right. Like, but
yeah, he wanted them yams.
And then Sis said ain't nobody banging nobody with skid marks. That's pretty disgusting. Yeah, so that is true, man. So let's go on to our next one in the news. This is just as funny. Let's talk
Oh my
about
God.
let's talk. Oh shit, I didn't brought up the wrong thing. Let's talk about McBomb.
Mick
Now,
Blom. So, Mr. Robert Goldwitzer
okay,
uh, apparently went to a McDonald's and he made his order and he ordered some chicken nuggets.
okay,
And he got home and he didn't have any dipping sauce.
okay.
Dude was pissed. So he
Did,
called and threatened a bomb threat. He made a bomb threat. And he also said that he was going to punch one of the workers because he did not get his dipping sauce.
now listen, man. We've all been disappointed. Okay, when we left any kind of establishment,
Yeah.
we didn't get our order right. We didn't get enough ketchup, sauce, whatever the hell it is.
Something.
We've all been there, right? And of course, there is some rage, and maybe you say some shit under your breath, like that's why that motherfucker worked there and only making $7 an hour, whatever. We get kind of insensitive, but to threaten to bomb the place over some fucking dipping sauce that you could probably
And it was probably ranch too.
yeah, which you
It was
probably
probably
already got
some
in the
nasty ass
cabinet.
ranch.
Like, bro, come on, man. So is
Come
it?
on,
Is,
man.
did they say what's going to happen? I'm sure he's going to jail, right? Like they
He's been
don't.
charged with false report of explosive or incendiary devices and communicating a threat. So he was jailed last Saturday, and he's out on bond now as of Sunday. So, this was
Honestly,
in a
dipping is
town
important.
in Iowa. So, Ankeny, Iowa.
Yeah,
Insane, really. This is another one of those. Think about your actions before you you act. Yeah, he gonna be somebody's dipping sauce in jail.
yeah. This, bro,
Dumbass.
like this thing. We can't make this shit up. You mad
No.
as fuck over the goddamn dipping sauce, and you calling a bomb threat is
Yeah.
as crazy as this world is already, and the things that are people, things that are getting people killed and hurt are way more. I don't know, I guess serious than this, even though they're not supposed to be serious. But you gonna make a threat about fucking damn. Let's call it barbecue. I don't know. Let's call it sweet and sour. Motherfuckers love they sweet and sour. Yeah, I hate it.
No,
But
if you saw this face, this
honey
is
mustard.
ranch, dude.
Call it
This
honey
is ranch. This is ranch.
ranch.
Yeah, this is ranch. If you saw this face, this is ranch. And I'm gonna post it on our Instagram, and you can post it on Facebook. And I'm gonna put the caption: "This is ranch."
This
Period.
is right. I think it's honey mustard, bro.
All right, all right.
Or some
Yeah.
or maybe if it was what's that place everybody loved, Chick-fil-A, and everybody loved that Polynesian shit, maybe it's that.
Mm.
That should have started a fight. You
Yeah,
forget the
I would
or you
take
take
Chick-fil-A over
them
some McDonald's any day. Some McDonald's nuggets? Come on, is that shit real chicken?
probably ain't, but that shit good, man. That's a whole other
Yeah,
them
come
shit
on.
fresh and crispy. Yeah, man, let me chill because I'm trying not to
Get the
eat.
Big Mac meal with the nuggets, and yeah, anyway.
That's when I was a supreme
All right.
fat. All right, man.
So moving on.
To some serious
Uh,
shit now. I gotta pose a question, B. I gotta pose a
Sure.
question. All right, so we're moving into the doctor, right?
Mhm.
How do we feel about Chauvin's sentence?
Um,
2 years,
so
time serves.
I
What
look
else?
at
What else is in that?
I try to look at it from um, two different perspectives. Unemotionally, this is how the system works. Um, they had already laid out, the possible outcome if he's found guilty, max sentence, all this stuff. Um, the unfortunate part of our legal system is the requirements change from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. They're not national. They're not the same in every city, every town. They vary, so that's why you can see this murderer get 22 and a half years, and you see somebody for a drug offense get 40 years, which is asinine. We know that it's asinine. Now, from an emotional standpoint, this isn't enough. This damn sure isn't enough. He's young enough to get out and still have a productive life. He won't, but he can still have a productive life. George Floyd is gone.
So my question was, because I'm not the lawyer type here. What was the max that he could get for
40?
max? 40 was max.
Yeah, 40 was the max. And I think that the prosecutor knew that they weren't going to get 40 years from that judge. So they asked for 30 and they got 22 and a half.
Okay. So, I mean, a lot of things here, right? So,
Yeah.
okay, a lot of people are not happy with the outcome, i.e., the sentence, but other things happened before that because he was denied the
A
ability
retrial.
for a retrial. You
Yeah.
know, so it started positive, right? Because I remember that's how the day started. Like, you know, that was out there, and then the sentence came out, and of course, man, like, I mean, this is always the tough part, bro. Like, emotions and feelings are always going to drive, you know, people's thoughts behind the situation. Did
Yeah.
the justice system work effectively to the point where he is not the next one in line that got a free pass? Yes, because we've seen it way too many times. All the trials, Mike Brown, shit. Even though he wasn't a cop, but you can go Trayvon Martin's case. I mean, you go
Mhm.
on, and all these dudes were just found not guilty or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
So this guy was actually found guilty. However, now does the sentence justify the action? You know, a
Does it
lot of
fit?
no, it
Yeah.
doesn't, right? So
And
we
no,
want the max. You know, I
it
think that's
doesn't,
what
it
everybody
doesn't
wants, the
fit,
max. But
you
what if
know,
the
and
max was only 20 years then? So this is
yeah,
where this is where law is hard. Because first off, you know, everybody want to think if you murder somebody, you know, the life in jail, the whole thing, the whole nine. But a lot of
yeah,
times you got to really understand. And I know that you do a good job of this. My sister does a good job of this. CJ from the Who Am I, he does a good job of this. You have to truly understand how the law plays. And a
yeah.
lot of people I feel like are not always educated on that. Like, you know, I just asked what was the max he can get. But a lot of people think, regardless of whatever the max is, every crime, so to speak, should meet
Mhm.
uh a certain sentence, life.
Right.
In this
And
situation,
it's not that
yeah,
simple.
it wasn't even
Max,
on the
he
table.
could have gotten those 40 because there was there was a child there that witnessed all this.
Mhm.
So it was those circumstances, um, and his disregard for life, um, despite others telling him what was going on. All of those things were factored into that 40 years. Now, how the judge felt about the prosecution presenting enough evidence um, to justify each one of those to get to 40, who knows? That's the thing. We don't, it's left up to a singular person to make that judgment, which is unfortunate. That's just, and to me, you know, as a black person, I honestly believe this was another one of those here. Here's a carrot. This is the sacrificial lamb. We're giving you one.
Yeah,
And because we're giving you one, the expectation historically has always been it's time for you guys to be quiet now. You got one. You got to win.
yeah.
No, it doesn't work that way. The system is still broken.
So
That's the fact.
let me play devil's advocate right now
Sure.
and ask you this. Um, so why do you think a judge says 22 plus time served versus 40? Like, where do you think that derives from? Like, how do you think they even derive sentence structure? I know what I can give you. I know what people are asking for, but I'm going to do this. What do you think that's based off of?
So, all right, I'm gonna put on the objective one. My objective hat. My objective hat says that this guy looked at him and said, "Hey, look, he was a cop. He's been a cop for over 20 years. This is something that he did. He had this situation happened. Okay. And giving him the benefit of the doubt, maybe he panicked. I believe the judge probably read things into it that probably weren't there, you know, and he made his determination. This is the sentence. Now, in the same context that any person of color is um, presented in the most negative way, when you look at any person that's been arrested, any person of color that's been arrested, the first thing you see is his mugshot. You didn't see the mugshot of Derek Chauvin.
The
You
later,
saw Derek Chauvin in uniform.
way later is when we seen the mugshot.
Yes, way later.
Way later.
So the narrative is already planted. The narrative was planted a long time ago. The narrative was planted well before this trial even took place. This is who he is. He's an upstanding white man that fucked up one time.
But we
On
know
the
that's
flip
not the
side,
truth because he had a
you
history.
know, but
Yeah, he had a history, but you know how often that history came up? Almost none. You know what you heard more about? George Floyd might have had fentanyl. George Floyd passed a $20 fake bill. George Floyd did all these crimes, all of these things that pit good against evil.
Yep.
That's always the narrative. And we're people that judges a person. So what stuck? What tends to stick is he looks like me.
That's tough. That's tough. You know, and that's a conversation we've had in a lot of different situations. You know, whether we're talking about whether or not I feel the same comfortableness as a white man who has the privilege. I'm sorry, the privilege, but the right to carry a gun, and I have the right to carry a gun, but I have my gun and I'm stopped.
I don't have the same comfort level.
Yeah, so we've had this conversation, and you go back to some of the symbols that he looks like me. There's a sense of somewhat remorse there. I mean, we can go to
comfort.
Both Thing John, his situation, right? Like, chick came in, shot him, thought she was in the right apartment. She's clearly in the wrong. His life's gone. And that trial ended with emotional like feelings of, oh, I just made a terrible mistake. And you and I had our discussion about that. I didn't agree with that. You know, but it is what it is. You know, it is. And
but it goes back to what we were talking about with Cosby and even the OJ thing. It's these, we cling to these little victories, whether our black person, the person that we are, that we relate to, whether the person we relate to is innocent or guilty, that becomes secondary to they're free.
Yeah. And like sis said, when it comes to that Both in John situation, chick only got 10 years, right?
Yeah.
So, and we talk about what mistakes are. Okay. So again, no one's seen that really. It's her word against his. Okay, mistake, whatever. But we watched this live and we talked about this for over and over. It's actually over 9 minutes of him keeping him in that position, you know, controlling the situation with his knee on his neck, dominating force, and a helpless man can't do anything about it. And we watch him die
with a crowd telling him
what's going on. Crowd. So again, maybe that is like, yeah, I don't feel justice happened because he should have got the max, whatever the max was. I mean, we seen how this happened when it started with what the charges would actually be, right? Because you know, it was hard to say that it was going to be murder one because it wasn't premeditated, and like nobody had facts that, oh, he got up and said, I'm gonna kill a black man today, and his black man's name is George Floyd. Like, so we knew that one was out. But then it went from, is it going to be manslaughter? Is it going to be murder too? So all these things are always like playing very heavily on people's emotions because they want fair. We all want fair. And then sometimes even when things are going in that direction, though somebody had to lose their life, then you have the sentence and it's still not, you know,
it's still not fair
outcome. And I hate it. Remember we talked about this, right? I don't want to cut off. You remember we talked about how unnerving that day was when he actually, the verdict was read, because I was like, bro, if they say this shit, if they say this man is not guilty, like how do we come back from this?
Yeah, because this man was asking, his attorney was asking for time served and release.
And that's what, and I hated feeling like that. Was like, because who am I to say this man deserves whatever judgment he gets, right, wrong, or indifferent? But if they sit here and do this again, and the way, and the reason why this is different is because it was live TV almost. People watch this at its length. There's no way that you can deny this. But we shouldn't even felt like that. Our justice system is so fucked up that it keeps you in a state of wonder. Like, damn it, shit, you know what? Fuck, he might actually get off. Like, we shouldn't even be thinking like that, but we had to for that time period. It was nerve-wracking. It really was.
But historically, we've been put in a place to feel like the system's not going to work as we feel that it should. But one thing to keep in mind, though, you know, everybody that's listening, even you, this system is not ours.
Yeah, which is what we're going to talk about next.
This system has been designed to keep us in place in a box. That's what it's designed to do. You know, when you think of, just think of the various charges, the possible charges, you know, from manslaughter, murder 2, murder 1, whatever. Each one of them has a minimum and each one of them has a maximum.
Facts.
So that judge sits there. I'm going to exercise whichever one. Look at this person. Here's the extenuating circumstances. Blah 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 blah. Give this white man. We'll give him the mid level sentence. Black man comes in, lesser charge. We're going to give him the max because, oh my God, there's a greater chance of him coming out of prison, committing another crime. You know, it's that narrative, that historic narrative that we've always had to fight against. And that historic narrative of Black people, of people of color in this country, it permeates everything. The legal system, the school system, you name it. It affects everything. How we are viewed as people affects everything, from buying a home, selling a home, getting a job, you name it. Why is it? I know it sounds like I'm off on a tangent, but I just want to make a point. Why is it that we have to name our children with the expectation of, I want you to get a job 10 years from now, 20 years from now?
Well, that's power right there. Like, because those are things that we kind of subconsciously think about, but then
Yeah.
in creativity, sometimes we laugh and joke on certain names. One of the coldest Johnson, where the fuck boy's name was, that
Yeah.
was ridiculous. But
Yeah.
playing on certain things, I want to name my kid this, that, and that. So
You
I'm gonna
can't
pick this that might
you
affect.
can't have a traditional African name in this country and expect to get a job, because first thing they see on that resume, oh no, it's got to be a Black person. Now,
Shaquan.
in my case, I don't know that you can get a whiter name than Stuart Proctor.
Clyde Oliver.
It would just kind of like highlights the point.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about critical race theory and its purpose, why it's necessary in our main topic. And this is kind of like everything that we've discussed is leading us to that main discussion. And somehow it always kind of works out that way. So no, I don't think in regards to Derek Chauvin, I don't think he got enough time. Personally, I don't think he got enough time. From the legal system is going to work the way that it works. And that's unfortunate. And me saying it's going to work the way it works, I do not mean that in a positive light.
And that's a perfect segue, man. So here we go. I want to lead with something.
First of all, on the issue of critical race theory, et cetera, I'll obviously have to get much smarter on whatever the theory is. But I do think it's important, actually, for those of us in uniform to be open-minded and be widely read. And the United States Military Academy is a university. And it is important that we train and we understand. And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it. So what is it that caused thousands of people to assault this building and try to overturn the Constitution of the United States of America? What caused that? I want to find that out. I want to maintain an open mind here, and I do want to analyze it. It's important that we understand that, because our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians, they come from the American people. So it is important that the leaders, now and in the future, do understand it. I've read Mao Zedong. I've read Karl Marx. I've read Lenin. That doesn't make me a communist. So what is wrong with understanding, having some situational understanding about the country for which we are here to defend?
Now that's power in statement.
Yeah.
And that's coming from, do you remember what general that was? He's
Mark Milley. And he was speaking to Congress, and dumbass congressman from Florida, Matt Gaetz, who's allegedly facing some charges of his own. That's a whole other problem, a whole other discussion. Brought up the fact that the military services are learning critical race theory, and he thinks that, God, no, it's so un-American that we're basically, that in his words, teaching something so radical to our soldiers.
And
he got shot down quick,
quote unquote woke now or some shit like that.
Our airmen, soldiers, and sailors are woke. Now this is coming from a guy who's never served a second in the military.
It always is. It always is those guys.
Quick to judge. Yeah. So, wow.
So, we play that to lead this off, because that's a man that's clearly in his mid-50s or so, and he's like, it's something I need to understand. It's something
Yeah.
that basically has been neglected my entire life. And we have the situation of being, the I guess the true leaders and decision makers in the United States military. And I think it's important to understand how to make everyone feel like they are serving a part of the same force. Because we've seen over time after time, every war that Black Americans have served in, during the war, we're heroic on the battlefield. We come back to our
Yeah.
country and just another nigga. It's just
Yeah.
whatever. And that's unfortunate. And our fathers and grandfathers and great grandfathers and things like that have all faced that. I can't say that I faced the same thing. It's a different time, but I definitely
Yeah.
seen racism in the military. I'm not blind enough to say it doesn't exist. And that can be through a general conversation or action. I've been called the N word to my face. My brother Will, he knows, he was there, and he knows the outcome in that situation as well. We laugh and joke about that all the time because I
Right.
was young and wild, but trust me, when he said it and I had to get my head clear, there was some action that followed right after that. Now, was that right, wrong, or indifferent? It doesn't matter, but that's what words do to people. That's what discrimination does to people. It takes you somewhere that maybe you don't want to be. But this is it, man. So P, let's lead into it. Let's talk
Yeah.
about what is critical race theory, and then
So
we're going to talk about why it's important today.
critical race theory, it is an intellectual approach to looking at U.S. society with the belief that racism is at the core of its laws and institutions. Now, each one of us, each person of color, we've seen something, heard something, or experienced something to support this. Where you felt uncomfortable or have been made to feel uncomfortable for being Black. How many times you walked into a store and had the feeling that, oh my God, they're following me around. They must think I shouldn't be in here, or you've been told, and, I know for me growing up in Chicago, and Donna can probably speak to this, there were places we were told not to go.
Mm-hmm.
You just knew, don't go to certain areas of Chicago because you're Black. These are predominantly white areas that you just don't go to. I think that the most important part of this that anybody that's listening needs to take to heart, that knows people that are not Black, that need to understand what this is. This is not a concerted effort to indict all white people for the past. This is trying to basically to help everyone understand how that past from slavery on permeates all walks of life. Everything that we experience in this country has racial overtones to it.
Yeah, I mean, the general went on and said later, and I cut it before because it was just kind of running long, but he was like, we got to understand that laws were written when, a Black man was 3/5 of a person, and these are still the same laws of today. Now, certain things have been written out or changed. However, we got to still look at the root of the whole thing. It still stands, right?
Yes.
Like, and it's like that situation. You can take it in all the pieces that you want, like any book that you've ever read is history. When it talks about the civil rights movement and that portion, it's very short. We're talking page and a half, 2 max, right? But I can learn fucking 25 pages of slow, boring history about how we won our independence from, Britain. Like, why is that?
This is the sad,
really short.
The saddest part is we sit and we learn about, the origins of July 4th, the Boston Tea Party, etc. We learn more about that than we learn about the origins of us as a people, and we've talked so many times over the years about basically the sins of the father. The sins of this country are, I guess the way that I like to put it, they're not being, they can't be hidden anymore. They can't be whitewashed. They can't be covered up anymore.
And instead of ushering in this change in the most eloquent, most logical, and most passionate way, this country is fighting against it. And they're fighting a change that's going to happen. It is going to happen whether this country wants it or not. And when I say the most passionate way, I'm saying that this is probably the best way to discuss and have an intelligent discourse about who this country was, who this country is, and who it needs to be. But as long as there's a large cross section of this country that's fighting against it, that's trying to sell this narrative that it's anti-American, or it's, it's how did I heard something, some asshat on some news channel talking about how, it was Pat Roberts, that old senile so-called Christian guy, talking about CRT is just, black people want to take the whip handle from the white man and teach them how to treat black people.
That's
Really?
Well, there's a lot that's wrong with that, but
it's a ton wrong with that.
So I think it starts here. Like, you got to kind of think about, like, so it says critical race theories based thinking on a few important observations. So I think these thoughts that I'm about to put out is the energy that they want to block. Number one, race is a social construct that doesn't have anything to do with biological differences among people, including differences in intelligence or physical ability. Now, you already know there's from sports to politics to everything.
Yes.
It's always looked at as the black man was inferior. So we was not intelligent enough to do something as simple as playing quarterback. And I say that lightly, meaning, quarterback is a difficult position, but what's being black versus being white have anything to do with calling the football team? So we could just take something as simple as that. Then the U.S., and I think this is the big one, we kind of touched on it. The U.S. and all of its laws and institutions were founded and created based on the myth of white supremacy. But see, people don't want to buy into that or to believe that, but they act as if there was any person other than white people making the rules then.
Yeah.
So how can it not be? Like, where would you get something like 3/5 of a person if you say every man is created equal, but then you have another thing to say black people are 3/5 of a person, like that's contradictive, so those type of things are conversations that they want to have, because if you agree to that, then you're saying, well, yes, this country is racist and it's always been racist, but you don't want to say that. The assumption that lighter skin and European ancestry meant that white people were better and deserved a higher social and economic position than people of color. Because racism is embedded within our system and institutions, codified in law, and woven into American public policy, the racial inequality is replicated and maintained over time. Thus, systemic racism shows up nearly every facet of life for colored people. That's the truth, because we talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
Why are we still having conversations about wealth generation? We know that we were not, given the promise, the 40 acres and the mule. We can go and look that up. That was the promise. But systemic racism has allowed that. Like, why were we still fighting for civil rights? Why was that even a thing as close as something as 50, 60 years ago?
It's when 2021.
I mean, we're about to celebrate 245 years of quote unquote freedom from, our monarch king. But yet then we create our own, I guess, a level or institution of that same oppression in our own thing that we just broke away from. We were oppressed, by another countries, like, get them out of our country. We fought a war for them, but then we're going to oppress our own. I mean, come on, man. Like, that's, if you want to talk about not recreating a will, that's not recreating a will at all. They did the exact same thing. And then finally, CRT aspires to empower voices that have been marginalized, embracing the lived experiences of people of color through research, storytelling, and counter storytelling, placed in historical, social, and political context. Is critical to scholarship that examines race and racism in society. Well, that's BLM. That's this whole George Floyd movement. That's people like
the civil rights movement,
Angela Davis, Martin Luther King. over and over. So all those people have always been looked at negative light. Angela Davis, Black Panthers, bad look. Martin Luther King of all people at one point was considered like public enemy number one. Martin Luther damn King.
FBI watching.
Yeah. And then it ended up costing his life. Malcolm ended up getting his life, taken. Now, of course, that was kind of done in a different light, but still, he was looked at as a threat. J. Ever Hoover, that guy, he's on record for saying the most dangerous threat to America is an educated black man, something along those lines. You look at everybody. You can go to Judas and the Black Messiah. Look at that story. The Rainbow Coalition. We know Fred was over that. He was looked at public enemy number one too. So this shit is crazy.
Here's the biggest problem with America, with those who view this in a negative light. They're afraid. Mm-hmm. They're afraid that there's going to be a racial reckoning in this country. And since slavery ended, all we wanted was to matter in an equal measure. That's all we've been asking for, to matter in this country that we built to matter in equal measure. We're not asking to overthrow shit. We're not asking to have a race war. We're not even trying to have a race war. We have historically tried to appeal to the good sense of humanity. That's all we've tried to do as a people.
Yeah, that's true. And it's been met with denial after denial. It's been met with injustice after injustice, segregation, separation. You can be here, but you can't be amongst us. You know what I mean? You can utilize this, but yours looks like this. You can eat here, but you got to sit there. And it's wild to think about a country that throws out all that to the side when they need you, right? When you need to fight a war, hey man, brother and brother, lock arm, let's go. You come back, well, that shit's kind of over with now. You know where you belong. And I'm almost 40 years old, P. You into your 50s, and I'm thinking about what's the next wave? The next wave, in my opinion, is the complete tilling of it, and it's happening now. So that Jordy doesn't grow up in a world where it's that racism shit is still a problem. I think it'll still be evident. People don't let shit go. Yeah. But it won't be, there's nothing to back it anymore.
Right.
That's what I think they're afraid of. In a lot of ways, they're still backing for it. And if they're still backing for it, there's still a comfortability about it. I know we don't live in a separatist country anymore. I know we don't live in segregation anymore, but we still know, if we're speaking humbly and truthfully, that these laws are written not universally. And I can accept that type thing.
Oh, hell no.
I feel like that's what some people who are still remotely racist at the heart is still holding on to. You know what I mean? Or new rules are created that give you more power that sometimes we see as fear, but it's damn, you take the gun thing we talked about. So now, oh, you come on my property, I can kill you. Oh shit. Yeah. I don't even got to go get a real background check for this. All I do is
I don't even need a license. Just go buy one now.
Concealed don't matter. So it's these things I'm still bro, and they start with really basic things. I'm voting for blue, you're voting for red. That's how simple this shit breaks down to. Yeah. And it's if we can't get over that as a people,
I think it's all by design. It's all of that's by design. As long as you create, you make a problem out of nothing and you exacerbate it in any kind of way that you can. People are focused on that. They're not focused on the real issue. Now, where I'm optimistic is we see a full generation of kids that have been raised on the internet. The internet provides information. Yeah, there's a problem in some cases where the information is misleading, is wrong, is bad information. But the information is out there nonetheless. Mm-hmm. And some of us old heads might look at these young kids oh my God, y'all don't give a fuck about shit. But ironically, they do. And ironically, they know more than we think that they know. They're more in tune to what's going on around in this world. And and they are capable of making changes. You know, I think about my kids and their multiracial group of friends, and honestly, they don't make race an issue. You know, which is promising for us that it's
Yeah.
not an issue for them.
Right.
Look, all these old heads that are clinging to the past, they're gonna die out through attrition, and unfortunately, some motherfuckers just don't die fast enough. You know, and I know that sounds harsh, but look, those same I can't have empathy for people like Mitch McConnell, him and others like him. I don't have sympathy for them in the way that they feel and how they feel about people of color, people that don't look like them. I won't just single it out to be people of color. People that don't look like them, that don't feel like they feel, that don't see or agree with them, how they view us.
Yeah.
You know, this is an eclectic country. This is a multiracial country. This is a country that's full of people from all walks of life. And for far too long, it's only been represented by one race. And that's changing. And that one race, the people that don't want it to change, they're trying to hold on to that shit with a death grip.
Yeah.
CRT is going to happen. It's happening. People want it to happen. We have the ability to access this information anytime that we want. And as we move forward through, you know, this and next season of our show, I would like to highlight some part of CRT in every episode, you know, so we can educate ourselves. Up until doing the research for this over the last couple of months, I didn't know anything about it.
Right.
Admittedly.
That's facts, and I had to dig into it because I'm one of those people who, and this is probably why me and my dad argue a lot. I tell my dad a lot he's stuck in certain times. He's just who he is. But I think he has a way of trying to describe what he's feeling or saying, and it's based on experiences I don't have. And so that's where he and I think, always kind of hit that friction point. But this is where I think I'm coming from when I'm talking to my father. I got to bring this back up. What King put. This is real. It's hard to convince someone that Black power does not mean white oppression, especially if the people you're trying to convince only have their perceived power through our oppression. The reason why I use that,
Perfectly stated. Yeah, perfectly
I
stated.
say that because, like, when I'm talking to my father and he's very direct and emotional about what he's saying, that first line is right there. He's felt the oppression growing up, going to the South, feeling it. And in that, he can't help but to feel what he feels, and that's pain and hurt and frustration. So when he expresses himself, though he doesn't think he sounds that way, his comments are coming out almost with equal feeling and gratitude of the same that he's felt. So it's like, it was done to me. And though I don't want to project that I feel the same way, I very much feel the same way. And I think that's where he and I always have that friction point. But that's the key, because a lot of people don't know how to have that conversation in the right light. Like if you've been oppressing people for so long, and now this group is now of strength, you're afraid that you're losing your ground.
For sure. Yes. And
that's
what we're experiencing.
You don't want to deal with it, though. You don't want to say, well, I'm racist, I believe in racism, all that. Of course not. But you also understand that you hold the higher economic status, political statuses, whatever. You hold the highest positions without even having to truly, I don't want to say work for it, but you're just kind of born into it. It's just the way it is. And so when that conversation arises and you feel the ground slipping a little bit and it's equal, that's uncomfortable. Why? Because you've never been the team trailing by 20 in the fourth quarter. You've never been the team that's really close to doing something, but they're still down with 30 seconds left and they kind of need a miracle to bail them out. You've never been that, And so that's the conversation that I think that Millie was trying to say. Like, we need to understand this. I need to understand why people felt so damn passionate about their feelings that they felt like I can just go down and tear down everything that's the Constitution today when they stormed the Capitol January 6th. That's big facts. You felt so passionately strong about whatever the situation was that you was like, no, we don't have to take this. We can actually do this and get away with it. Breaking every fucking law there is. Defaming in very important places, buildings, people's offices, desks, everything. with basically no
the
consequence in their
foundation of
mind.
our democracy, the
Yeah.
foundation of America's democracy.
With zero consequence in mind.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna
No.
go and break into federal offices and do all kind of shit. They said, you know, people smear feces, all kind of just crazy, insane stuff. Basically, with like, yeah, look at my face. I'm on TV, people waving, people got their feet up, like, hey, I'm here, whatever. And it's like, I can get away with this because you know what? Guess what? I'm not. I'm
The
not a
power
minority.
structure has always been the
Yeah.
same. The
And
power
that's
structure has been the
wild.
same. Yeah.
That's wild.
And that has been a license to do whatever you choose to do.
Mhm.
Now, how all that shit plays out, well, we already see how the law plays out. So we'll see.
Mhm. So let's see what Pat got to say. My question is, how many leaders have this country had since the end of slavery to today, and what have they done, not done, and how many years have they been in a position of power? We can't grow as one people until change is made.
For
Okay,
sure.
Pat, this is facts. So you look
Yeah.
at the long stead of a lot of politicians. I mean, hell, you could take our
Yeah.
current president. I mean,
Yeah.
he's been in this shit for what, 40 years, whatever the thing was.
My entire life for sure.
Yeah,
You
Joe
know,
has changed
yeah,
sides, not changed sides as far as like,
yeah.
you know, how he
He's
votes,
been
but you
been
know,
a centrist. He's
yeah,
been more left.
yeah,
He's played
he's
both
the
sides of the
handshake.
aisle.
I mean, he ran
Yeah.
on. I'm the handshake guy. I
Yeah.
make deals across the
Yeah.
aisle, but sometimes those deals aren't favorable. So you're right. Like I feel like the way the rules are set up, if a president can only be 4 years, or I'm sorry,
Yeah.
8 years max, because they changed
Mhm.
that. Maybe they need to put some limits on how long you can actually be in the circle of
Yeah.
power. You know,
For
because
sure.
being a senator
Yeah.
is the circle of power.
Man. Yes.
Congress,
Yes.
circle of power. It really
Yeah.
is.
That's where all the power is originated from. But back to my optimism, and you know, I'll try to answer Pat's question. Again, the day the system changes for black people, white America will go crazy because it really means that they have no control. That's their fear. That's their fear. And I don't think that we as black people want the system to change in favor of us. We just want the system to be equal for all concerned.
Yeah, that's another thing, and not let power
Another,
pass families.
yes, for sure. Pat, you are hitting on all the marks. That's my optimism. I'll go back to my optimism is through education and this generation that has access to so much information. Change does not have to be driven by politics. Change will be driven by that generation. They will drive the politics that will come to make the overall changes.
I like that, because what I wanted to say right here too, because I think like how my sister, she said, white America. This is important to understand. What's important to understand is I feel that like the term or phrase white America is an idea. And what I mean by that is because it's the old way of thinking, right?
Right.
Because there's a lot of white Americans out there that understand and are fighting and doing what's right, and pushing the change. Pat is one of them. Pat is
Look,
white, I'm black, but you couldn't separate
real
us until
quick.
we're different.
This
for
our
sure.
show has never been an indictment of anyone. You know, and this is not a broad swath saying that all white people want to oppress black people and continue to do that. That's never been what we've done. I want to put that out there. This is a really constructive conversation about what has to happen across this country in order for things to change. Black people, we can want things to change for the next 100 years, but we need people to help us change it. The people that have established these rules have to understand that these rules are not fair.
Yeah, and they're not fit for everyone. Yeah,
right. These same people probably didn't create these rules, and we want to make that point known. With the sins of the father carry forward.
It's facts. Yeah. So I mean, this is just a conversation of critical race theory. There will be many more brought to this show, but I felt like on this show we opened the door to it. We had so many comments for everybody. I love this. That's what we want going on. You guys are interacting with each other. I'm trying to bring them up as I see them. I appreciate everybody who is, putting in their effort, time, and listening with a different ear. The key to all of this for us to be on the same platform going forward is to be able to understand what someone's saying. Hence our whole fucking, tagline, let conversation influence you. It's not necessarily to change your mind. It's more so to have you be in a state of mind where I hear what you're saying. You're influencing me because I'm giving you the floor. That's the important part, because a lot of times my mind is made up based off my thoughts and theories, and yours are made up based off your thoughts and theories. So nobody's conversation is being heard outside of their own. I think that's what this show is about. We welcome them all. Sis said we need a call in line. I'm gonna work on something where
we definitely do. We definitely
Yeah.
do, man.
I can kind of do that. We had to practice doing it.
Yeah, this has
But
been
yeah,
a
we'll work that up.
great
Yeah,
discussion.
for
Pat,
sure.
Ashley, Donna, Will, Cyrus, everybody. Look, this has been, and we're still shooting. We're still recording.
Yeah.
In my opinion, this has been one of our best shows
Right.
because of you guys chiming in and sharing your thoughts and your opinions about these things. And this is what conversation does. As long as we can have these conversations, we can learn from each other. We can teach each other. And to me, it's important for us to have these things, these discussions, to help each one of us grow. We can only grow together in this endeavor. This endeavor has always been to teach and learn from one another.
All right, she want me to put a call in show. Okay, so that's been the CRT conversation, but I can't end without rolling into my final note. So my final note this week, and it's still kind of in the same frame, man. But it's defending Gwen. Now, Gwen has had a life. I will say that. And so in her situation, she has been, incarcerated. I think she was incarcerated 16 of 24 years. I'm trying to find, I'm sorry, I lost it. Here we go. So Gwen is a 76-year-old woman on probation. However, she's headed back to prison after missing calls from her probation officials. Now, here's her story. Gwen was granted house arrest last June after serving 16 years of her 24-year sentence in prison. While on release, now this is a 76-year-old lady. She attended a computer class and missed a few calls from her probation officials. Now, Gwen is awaiting transfer to a federal facility from a Washington, D.C. jail, according to her attorney. But why? In Gwen's statement, she says, "I am not a rule breaker. I tried to explain what happened, and to tell the truth, at no time did I think I was supposed to go to that class." Gwen was reportedly improving her computer processing skills at a class in Baltimore's Inner Harbor. Probation officials took note via Gwen's ankle monitor that she wasn't at home, and the monitor revealed that she got back at home at 1:17. So she was like 2 hours past her curfew, despite knowing where Gwen's location was. Now, this is my problem. A report submitted by the Bureau of Prisons deemed Gwen's time outside the home as an escape. Now, I read all that to say our justice system, seems to always prioritize the wrong shit. This is a 76-year-old lady, man.
Yeah.
I mean, she's going to a computer class. I'm looking at this like, in all due respect, and I'm not trying to, sound mean. Nobody's hiring an almost 80-year-old lady. So she's just trying to improve herself. She's been in jail for a very long time. They know where she is, and you still think of her as like a flight risk.
What could she possibly be doing at 73 years old as far as crime related? Come on now.
Does this not warrant some type of understanding? Does this not warrant some type of empathy? Like, okay, ma'am, yeah, you broke the probation rule, but we're gonna automatically just clink her back up and send her right back to the pen. And she was at a computer class. The final note is, where's the heart at, man? Like, I'm not sitting here saying what the justice system isn't supposed to be doing versus what it's supposed to be doing. I get it. Rules are rules, laws are laws, blah, 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 blah. But at some point, you have to be able to make a justification from the heart. Because isn't that what judges do? Isn't that what happened with Chauvin? He could have got 40, but they gave 22.
Fucking day.
I mean,
rules are broken and bent.
That's
fractured every day.
I hope somebody gets into this and defends Gwen. Like, I don't know what people may
This
be
is
able to do,
it's a
but
travesty, man, for something
power to
like this to
numbers.
go on. This lady's 73 years old, trying to better herself, even this late in life.
Yeah, man. It's that, and that's what's crazy to me is that where, like I said, not saying there's far graver crimes that are being committed. I get it, and so I'm not even gonna play that
Yeah,
card. Like I said, a rule is a rule is a rule. But the same way a judge can make a ruling, right? Somebody should be able to say, you know what, this is a bit much.
yeah.
You know, it
Leave this
isn't,
lady
this
alone.
isn't if we didn't know where she was. We knew where she was. And so now you're waiting for her to get home to lock her back up. It's pretty fucked up in my eyes, man. And that's just how I gotta end it, man. So yeah, that's my final note. P, you want to say anything before we get out of here, man?
Man, I want to thank everybody that joined the show today. This has been, you know, when I think about it, it's kind of emotional, you know, to think about where this is, where the whole discussion today, you know, funny, you know, kind of lighthearted, and then it took on a serious tone. Um, let's go, Ash. We got this shit. We get her off. But I want to look. I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. You know, you guys make this possible. Um, and I know I appreciate it. I know CO appreciates it, but you know, I really want to thank you guys. And I mentioned as many names as I can remember from all the pop-ups that I saw on the screen. Please keep coming, keep joining us. We'll try to give you the best product that we can. As we grow this show, you guys grow with us. You make us grow. You make us push forward. You make us come up with better content every time that we do this. We do this for you. So thank you.
Yeah, man. I can't say much after that, but I know we ran long tonight, but sometimes, you know, it's warranted. So I
Oh, this was
appreciate you
worth
for
it.
sticking around. Yeah, I can't wait to edit this one. I know
Yeah.
this is a really good one, man. So until next time, thank you all. You guys have a good evening. It's been Seal and the Doctor. We out.